every day. School buses safely transport our children, but only if drivers follow the law. Flashing lights and a stop sign on a bus mean you must stop. Passing a school bus in this situation isn't just illegal, it's dangerous. Children's lives are at risk when drivers ignore this signal. Protect them by stopping, no exceptions. Failure to stop has serious consequences. Do your part for safety and your community. Flashing red lights on a school bus mean you must stop immediately. It's the law. It's about safety. It's about lives. We've all been there, running late, feeling the pressure, but at what cost? Speeding contributes to nearly 1/3 of all fatal car crashes. Every 10 miles per hour over the speed limit doubles your risk of a fatal crash. Speeding isn't just risky, it's deadly. It reduces your reaction time and magnifies the impact of every collision. Families are forever changed by one bad decision. One moment of speeding can mean a lifetime of regret. The faster you go, the longer it takes to stop. At high speeds, every second counts and can cost lives. Respecting speed limits saves time, money, and lives. Reckless speeding can cost you tickets, insurance hikes, jail time, or worse. Speeding doesn't just endanger you, it endangers everyone around you. Speed limits aren't a suggestion. They save lives, yours and others. Slow down. Arrive alive.
That text can wait. That call isn't worth a life. In the United States, distracted driving leads to over 3,000 deaths and approximately 424,000 injuries each year. Looking at your phone for just 5 seconds at 55 miles per hour is like driving the length of a football field, blindfolded. Is that text worth never making it home? Put the phone down. Focus on the road. Lives depend on it. Drive safe. Arrive alive.
I want to thank Secretary Augustus for being here. We also have some other elected officials, local, state. I want to thank Representative Michelle DuBois for being here. Senator John Keenan is here. We have Tamisha Civil, who is our Governor's Council member, here as well. We have Representative Mendez's assistant here. Senator Mike Brady's assistant is here. Representative Hawkins is here. My favorite newest mayor from Braintree, Mayor Joyce, is here. But we are here today to do a remarkable conversation about housing. We want to thank John and Father Bill's MainSpring. Just backtrack a few years. I became mayor six weeks before the pandemic, and we knew that our most vulnerable, those that did not have a roof over their heads, those facing homelessness for a myriad of reasons. Perhaps it's substance abuse, alcohol abuse, mental health, or they were taken advantage during the foreclosure epidemic. There's many reasons why people are on the streets, but Father Bill's MainSpring has been a catalyst to change, to provide wraparound services, housing with dignity, respect, to treat people the way that all of us were told growing up how to treat other people. And unfortunately, that's not always the case in society these days. But the Healy-Driscoll administration has been phenomenal. Let's give them a round of applause. I personally want to thank Lieutenant Governor. Kim is a dear friend, but she also is a former mayor of Salem. So she gets it. She gave a phenomenal speech last week at the Chamber of Commerce event. She is a dear friend of the city of Brockton. And Secretary Augustus, Ed gets it as well. Right, coming from Worcester, very similar to the city of Brockton. A lot of the same issues in Salem and Worcester and Brockton and Haverhill and Braintree and Quincy and Lawrence, and they're all the same. We're in the people business. When you run for office, it's about helping people, no matter what their issues are. And so John Yazinski and his team at Father Bill's MainSpring in the City of Presidents, Quincy, and of course our City of Champions, Brockton, has mastered that. And during the pandemic, this was the old Carlton House. And as a kid that grew up in Brockton, 25-cent beers on Friday nights, just to let you know. But growing up in Brockton, the Carlton House was great, but then it became, in disrepair. And so John, when it was the roadway in, thought outside the box and said, you know what, let's use that to get people off the streets during the pandemic, social distance, SROs, and let's get at it. I supported it wholeheartedly. Congressman Lynch, Steve came down and he supported it as well, and state delegation was 100% on board. And at that time, it was the Baker Polito administration. But when Maura and Kim jumped in, it's been unbelievable in terms of the idea of just helping people. And so today we're here because this has been truly an example throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Taking a dilapidated, pretty much non-used hotel and mastering to housing. And then up the street, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but if you haven't, you need to take a look. It's a campus setting. It's wraparound services on a campus. It was land that was put out by the federal government, and Father Bill's has relocated there. And I was there on Saturday with my wife. We did 100 sandwiches we made in our kitchen at home, and we brought it over there Saturday morning. And it was like I was bringing, a bag of gold. It's just what it means to help people. So we are looking at roadway phase 2 over there. That parking lot is going to disappear. And this is the best location. We got Route 24 over there. If you're a veteran, the VA hospital is across the street. Good Sam, which is now BMC South, is up the street that way. And we have Brockton Hospital across on the east side. So it's game on right now. And as the LG just said, housing needs to happen throughout the 351 municipalities in our great Commonwealth. So as the mayor, I welcome you. I thank you. Let's continue to have our eyes on the prize. And I do really just want to give a shout out. We have 3 state reps. We have Michelle DuBois, Rita Mendez, and the newest rep, Bridget Plouffe, Senator Mike Brady. Those 4 people I served with on the city council, except for Rep Plouffe. And Michelle and Rita and Mike, they get it. They're at the Beacon Hill fighting each and every day, but Brockton is home. Brockton's where it's at. So I want to thank you, Rep, for always coming here. I want to thank you for your friendship. And at this time, it is my distinct honor and privilege to invite up our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here in Brockton to celebrate yet another housing win, not just for Brockton, but for our Commonwealth. And Mayor, you said so much in those remarks. I really want to thank you and Brockton for being a community that is open and receptive and creating an ecosystem for new housing. That has not just been this project that we're celebrating today, the last project we were at in Brockton, but a real recognition that our communities need to be available and accessible for everyone who lives here. Our most vulnerable members, folks who are doing well, and to be able to create the conditions on the ground, whether that's through zoning or being able to say yes more than we say no. And that's one of the contributing factors to how we ended up not having enough housing in Massachusetts, is we like to say no more than we like to say yes. And I'm really grateful and proud that Brockton is a community that says yes. So thank you. I think since day one, Governor Healy and I have been really focused on meeting what we think is the biggest challenge facing our state, and that's the need for more housing. We know that there are many barriers, particularly for affordable housing, particularly for having places that are accessible for all members of our community to live. And it's just been a major driver of economic stress and inaffordability, and frankly, a cause of homelessness that exists in many, many communities and parts of Massachusetts. And I think we took office knowing that tackling this housing challenge had to be front and center. And frankly, with all of you, we have really leaned into this work. Many of you have heard me say this before. We have decided that we are not going to admire the problem. We all know what the rules are, why it's hard to build housing, and we've got to stand up and do more to solve it. I'm so grateful that the legislative delegation members who are here, because it does take a true partnership. Our ability to invest in housing as a state only comes because we've got a legislature that understands that this is a priority, not only when it comes to the funding that we need, but also the policy shifts. Senator Keenan and I spent a lot of time talking about ADUs and how do we make them more available in more communities. And that's why, as part of our housing bond bill, it wasn't only about the resources, important, thank you, hooray, but also about making it easier on the ground to build the type of housing we need. And ADUs are one small example of that, but they can lead to tens of thousands of units as they have in other states. I'll just say, while we're excited about the Affordable Homes Act and implementing it, and Secretary and his team have done an amazing job operationalizing the plan, we are not done. We have more work to do on housing. I look forward to talking with our legislative delegation about how do we, again, pave that path, make it easier to build the type of housing we need. There was just a story in the Globe today. Like, we all know it. It's not a secret. The housing is too unaffordable for too many people. So what are we going to do about it? This generation that's graduating with higher college debt, they want to do the same thing that many of us did when we were in the age bracket of 26 to 35, buy a home, and too often they can't. And they're telling us that by leaving with their feet. And so it's up to those of us who have had the good fortune to live here to know how great a place Massachusetts is to live, to work. We want to make sure other families can experience that too. So what can we do to make it easier? How do we continue on this pathway? We're not done. We're pushing every single day to find out what comes next. So over the last 2 years, many of you know we've taken a lot of steps to help move that needle. One, we've created a comprehensive housing plan. I was brave enough and lucky enough to chair that effort. We always encourage communities to have a housing production plan. Many of them have housing production plans, but we never had one as a state. The good news is we have one now. The bad news is it told us we need over 200,000 units over the next 10 years to meet our demand. And that's without tons of growth. That's just those of us who are here and getting older and growing up. What type of housing do we need? The Affordable Homes Act, as I mentioned, not only brought $5.2 billion of investment that we still continue to invest, we'll talk about that today, but also things like accessory dwelling units and other policy shifts. We've also been implementing the MBTA Communities Law. We fought a couple of case battles over it. We're really partnering with communities. Many community leaders know this is not about dragging people by the ear. It's arming you with the tools. Every community has some place in their city or town that they can put more housing. Let's work together to find it and then create the zoning in the ecosystem. And when we do that in the communities that we have so far, there's 4,000 units in the pipeline in those communities who have already created zoning. It's a terrific way to ensure that we're working together to build the type of housing we need. And just 2 weeks ago, we unveiled a state inventory of land that will be available for housing, something we talked about doing. It's the first tranche. Over 450 acres, 3 dozen sites. We think it can create up to 3,500 units of housing. I don't know about you, Ed, but there was a lot of enthusiasm in that room from developers, private sector, nonprofits, CDCs, looking at these vacant state-owned pieces of property. Some of them are vacant with no buildings on them. Some of them have lovely older buildings in need of some TLC that can be converted into something else. But the bottom line is, we want to bring every tool possible to helping address this housing challenge. And we're not stopping and we're not giving up. And we're certainly thankful for the efforts of folks in this room and many more who aren't here, because while we can push policies and push resources, housing gets built in communities by people who are either in the private sector or in the public sector looking to ensure that we have the number of homes we need. And that's why today I'm really excited to be here to announce our latest housing win, and that's $40 million for supporting housing developments that will provide over 200 affordable rental units for seniors, veterans, formerly homeless individuals, some of the most vulnerable members of our community. $40 million we're announcing today. Many of you are doing the work. And I'm really excited about the supportive housing model because I think it's been one of those areas of growth when we talk about what do we need. We know to keep people housing in homes in a sustainable way, whether that's someone who was formerly homeless or an older adult who wants to age in place with respect and dignity, you need some complement of services. It is not inexpensive, and that's why you need a strong state partner to deliver on those goals. So not only would these dollars help hundreds of families with homes in their communities, they're also going to help people access those supportive services so they can stay in their homes. And when we do that, we know it leads to healthier outcomes. Nobody wants to see individuals living on the street, whether they're older adults, whether they're individuals who might have been veterans or serving our country, or families. We have all kinds of protections in place to try and prevent that, but there's nothing that prevents that better than a home with supportive services. So I'm really grateful that so many of you have stepped up to the plate so we can celebrate these wins, not only here with John and his team, but across Massachusetts. As we go through the list, and I'm sure Ed will do that, we have a broad cross-section from smaller rural communities, places out on the islands, urban centers. Everyone recognizes we can do more to support those that need just a little bit more than just a roof over their head, some coaching, some services to keep them there. And I'm really fond as a former mayor of saying, like, great cities don't happen by accident. Like, they don't. It takes intentional leadership. It takes commitment to positive action. It takes a willingness to embrace change. And what used to be a 25-cent beer Friday night place, all right, is now really going to be a catalyst for positive change, helping members of this community who need something just a little bit more than a roof over their head. I'm really proud of that effort when we come together to meet community needs, to do what it takes to keep people not only housed and safe, but healthy and vibrant and thriving. And that's what today's announcement is all about. So thank you to all of you who are here, whether you're here to collect a check. I know you're doing the work beyond the project that you're here to collect a check for. And that's really what it's going to take. We like to think of it as Team Massachusetts, whether it comes to economic development or creating a healthy housing ecosystem. It takes all of us to do our part. So thanks for being here. It's now my distinct honor to celebrate another local official. You know, if you want to get a job done, you ask a mayor. As a former mayor, we were fortunate enough to bring on Ed Augustus to help us in this new secretariat creating by our administration to ensure that we're building housing the places we need it. Ed's the former city manager in Worcester, so he understands not only what the needs are, but how to get the projects built, done, penciled out, in the ground, and eventually built out. Secretary Augustus.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Now you see the occupational hazard that being Secretary of Housing following a Lieutenant Governor who is so passionate and knowledgeable about housing. How do you deliver after remarks like that? But I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to work with the Lieutenant Governor who is so knowledgeable and passionate about all things housing and really is driving us along with the Governor, build more, do it faster. Because she has that sense of urgency about the impact of the housing crisis and how it manifests itself on so many different individuals and families across Massachusetts, that passion comes from that sense of urgency about people who desperately need the units, that some of which we're announcing today and some of which are involved in lots of different areas of production that we're all working on. So I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor. I want to thank Mayor Sullivan. The mayor has been an amazing partner, not just in all things housing, but particularly on the issue of homelessness. This is a tough issue. There's a lot of communities that are grappling and having really tough conversations. And sometimes it's easy to say no and not offer a solution to how to deal with the underlying problems. And Mayor Sullivan is not one of those types of people. He's somebody who gets to the root causes, figures out how to say yes, and really leads not only with his head, but also with his heart. So I want to acknowledge your leadership, Mr. Mayor. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask Kate Racer and the whole HLC team to just stand up and take a bow. Kate and her team are the ones that vetted all of the projects that came in, worked with all of the teams that presented them, got them ready for funding. And doing the supportive funding round while doing 2 affordable housing rounds and 3 HDIP housing rounds, and working on all of the 40B permits and other things that we do in her division. And Kate's a rookie at the job, but she's getting the hang of it. And I really think she's got a bright future in this space, so I'm excited about that. And again, I would like to acknowledge and appreciate our legislative partners to a person who've been so supportive, not only of the Affordable Homes Act, but all of the housing ideas that we've been working on together. The state's housing shortage is pushing people into vulnerable situations and forcing them to make difficult choices about what they can afford on a tight budget. Aging adults must find a way to pay for their housing, medical care, prescriptions, food, transportation, and more often on a fixed income. In fact, senior citizens are one of the fastest growing groups of homeless individuals in the state. And for all these reasons, the Healy-Driscoll administration and HLC are working hard to invest in new development to make it easier to build new housing and preserve the affordable housing we already have that we know keeps people housed. And today we announce funding that will create new supportive housing and shelter for aging adults, veterans, and homeless families in communities across Massachusetts. We're currently standing next to the Roadway Apartments supportive housing project, which is a terrific example of how supportive housing can transform the lives of previously homeless individuals. To build Roadway Apartments, Father Bills thought creatively and converted a former motel into new housing. Today, we're proud to announce that Father Bills is being awarded $4.5 million and $600,000 of low-income housing tax credits for Roadway Apartments 2. This project will expand Father Bill's capacity in Greater Brockton and will provide an additional 29 apartments for formerly homeless individuals. I want to congratulate Father Bills and the City of Brockton for creating an essential resource for this community. But Roadways Apartment 2 is only one of 8 projects being funded today. The Attleboro Family Center and its sponsor, the Planning Office of Urban Affairs, are receiving $12 million to support homeless families. The Ashford Street Lodging House and the Alston Brighton Community Development Corporation are receiving $1.5 million grant to rehabilitate single-room occupancy units for 12 extremely low-income individuals in Boston. 26, we know they're in the house. 26 Lawrence Ave and project sponsor Heading Home have been awarded $3 million to support an adaptive reuse of a former rectory to support 17 homeless families in Boston. The Winslow in Greenfield and its project sponsor Greenfield Housing Associates has been awarded $5.7 million to preserve and rehabilitate 55 deeply affordable rental units in Franklin County. And on Martha's Vineyard, we're awarding $2 million to the Housing Trust and the Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center to create the first 12 affordable units of veterans housing on the island in Oaks Bluff. In Quincy, we're awarding $5.5 million to Quincy Street Apartments, sponsored by NeighborWorks Housing Solutions and Father Bills in MainSpring, to create 24 new studio apartments for formerly homeless individuals. And in Hampden County, we're awarding Domus Inc. $5 million for adaptive reuse of an old town hall veterans apartments to provide 18 affordable studios to veterans in Westfield. Congratulations to the awardees of all of these essential projects that will provide housing to extremely low-income people across Massachusetts. It's so important that we have these safety net units online. And now somebody who's really worked in this space his entire career, who's been a thought leader when it comes to new ways to meet the needs of homeless individuals and families. It's my honor to introduce John Yazinski.
Thank you, Secretary. Well, welcome everybody to the Roadway Inn. The Roadway Inn, I can be brief about it because the mayor knows it very well. What I want to say is as we move to Roadway 2, you don't do that without tremendous political will from the local leaders here. Our state delegation, our councilors, city councilors, and our tremendous mayor. But also, you don't do a project of housing for formerly homeless individuals next to an existing one if your staff haven't delivered tremendous care and services. So please join me in thanking all of our political leaders here and our staff. I want to thank our Lieutenant Governor and Secretary for continuing to prioritize housing for our most vulnerable populations and funding all of these great projects that are here today. Words are one thing, but action is what really matters. And this administration is about action. As people have mentioned today, the Lieutenant Governor mentioned the bond bill. We talk about the supportive housing and having a seat at the table in the bond bill for the first time. The commissions that the governor and the lieutenant governor have created to look at breaking down and unlocking so many of the barriers that we've all seen in our communities so that we can bring more affordable housing to our communities. Their commitment is second to none, and we are blessed to have such a supportive administration. Thank you again. I want to thank another shout out to Kate Racer, of course, from Housing and Livable Communities and her whole team, and also to CDAC. I see Will here. Your tremendous partnerships to really understanding how hard these projects are. We really appreciate it. Mayor Sullivan, I know you've decided not to run again, and many of us are very sad, but we wish you the best in your family. But as the Lieutenant Governor and the Secretary said, you have been such an integral part of our mission the last few years, where you've said, you know what, every person in Brockton is a constituent of yours. Doesn't matter if you have a home or you don't have a home, and we really appreciate that. Together, we have done Roadway 1, we've done the Smith Family Housing Resource Center, we've done Yawkey Hall, and now the Roadway 2. So thank you again for everything that you've done. The administration in Washington is looking to move away from supportive housing. We know that this type of housing works for the people that need it the most. It works for all the stakeholders that are here today. It works for the community the most. We need to all keep fighting for these resources. We need to continue to build the political will that's needed. And in closing, I would just like to say is, I've been doing this 28 years now at Father Bill's in MainSpring. And I remember in 1997, the second project that Father Bill's ever did, it was a veteran's house. And I remember I was the housing specialist, and I remember moving a veteran into that house. It's called the Sheila McIntyre House in Quincy, named after a former mayor's wife who was very supportive. And I asked that veteran, after a few years, how did the house help you, knowing that they had been homeless for a long time? And what they said was, you gave me my own key. You gave me my own toothbrush rack. You gave me my own address. And from there, even when I was struggling with substance use, I had a place to go home when I went to treatment. I didn't go back to the streets. And then when I was able to apply for jobs, he said I had a home and an address and a phone number to do interviews and communicate. That veteran actually ended up working right over here at the VA before he passed away, and actually moved into management and then helped us as a community bring more housing to Quincy and Brockton. So when we think about supportive housing and what it does, it's ending homelessness one life at a time. Thank you again, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary, and everybody here. And God bless all of you providers and housing providers. It takes courage to do this type of housing. Thank you for standing up in your community and doing what's right. If anybody would like a tour of Roadway, we can meet in the lobby and we can give you a brief tour. But with that, thank you for coming today. I guess we're going to have all the agencies that got funded to do a big group picture up front.
So, où est-ce que nous avons été ça?
Every day, school buses safely transport our children, but only if drivers follow the law. Flashing lights and a stop sign on a bus mean you must stop. Passing a school bus in this situation isn't just illegal, it's dangerous. Children's lives are at risk when drivers ignore this signal. Protect them by stopping, no exceptions. Failure to stop has serious consequences. Do your part for safety and your community. Flashing red lights on a school bus mean you must stop immediately. It's the law. It's about safety. It's about lives. We've all been there, running late, feeling the pressure, but at what cost? Speeding contributes to nearly 1/3 of all fatal car crashes. Every 10 miles per hour over the speed limit doubles your risk of a fatal crash. Speeding isn't just risky, it's deadly. It reduces your reaction time and magnifies the impact of every collision. Families are forever changed by one bad decision. One moment of speeding can mean a lifetime of regret. The faster you go, the longer it takes to stop. At high speeds, every second counts and can cost lives. Respecting speed limits saves time, money, and lives. Reckless speeding can cost you tickets, insurance hikes, jail time, or worse. Speeding doesn't just endanger you, it endangers everyone around you. Speed limits aren't a suggestion, they save lives, yours and others. Slow down. Arrive alive.
That text can wait. That call isn't worth a life. In the United States, distracted driving leads to over 3,000 deaths and approximately 424,000 injuries each year. Looking at your phone for just 5 seconds at 55 miles per hour is like driving the length of a football field, blindfolded. Is that text worth never making it home? Put the phone down. Focus on the road. Lives depend on it. Drive safe. Arrive alive.